At a doctor's appointment, Ip Man is diagnosed with throat cancer in 1964. Although it's in the early stage, the doctor informs him that it is fast spreading and advises him to stop smoking. We cut to a man named Billy entering the training premise of Ip Man. He disrupts the ongoing class due to lack of understanding from both parties. Billy ends up having a duel with the teacher who thought he came to challenge him. During their fight, Billy is stopped by Ip Man and refers to him as Grandmaster since he is the one who taught Bruce Lee. Billy tells him that he has been sent by his master Bruce Lee to invite him to his tournament in America. He presents Ip Man with tickets and a book on Kung Fu written by Bruce. He accepts the book, but respectfully declines the invite, telling him to inform Bruce that perhaps he has no time. Billy gives the ticket to one of the students before running away. In the next scene, two students are fighting over a comic book after one of them had taken it away from the other. The student who fought back against the bully is Ching, son of Ip Man. Ching's father is called into the principal's office and handed an expulsion letter saying this is the last straw and they can no longer keep him at the school because he is always fighting. The principal advises and tells him to allow his son to study abroad since he is so active. At the hospital, the doctor who patched Ching up informs Ip Man that he too used to be naughty in school, so his mother sent him to America to study. The master journeys to San Francisco with the hopes of finding his son a school after the two got into a heated debate, which concluded in Ching receiving a Kung Fu slap to the face. Ching wants to learn Kung Fu, like his father, but he wants his son to stay in school and study. Before he left, Ip Man entrusted his son to a dear friend named Bob, telling him to keep an eye on his son and that he will call every night at 10 p.m. At the airport, he is picked up by Gun and taken to Chinatown, where he meets Mr. Wan, the chairman of the Chinese Benevolent Association. He has come to collect the recommendation letter for his son to attend a school in America. Ip Man introduces himself, but none of the other masters respond. They seem to have a Kung Fu grudge against him, and the chairman explains their indifference towards him. They are not happy that his apprentice Bruce is teaching non-Chinese people Kung Fu. They are even more upset that he has published a book in English explaining Chinese martial art. Mr. Wan therefore asks that Ip Man should help resolve this issue first, before a recommendation letter can be written for him. But Ip Man sees no issues in teaching Westerners Kung Fu. This leads to a table altercation resulting in a broken glass tabletop. He excuses himself and retires for the night. Gun informs him all is not lost, since he has a friend who can help with the recommendation letter. Before he sleeps, he calls home to speak to his son, but Ching does not want to speak to his father. Bob has been given some false information about America.
The
next day, they go to ask for a recommendation letter from Gun's contact, but the man refuses to issue one since he does not know who Ip Man or what his intentions are. That evening, he goes to Bruce's tournament, after which, they go to celebrate with something to eat and drink. He expresses his reason for coming to America and his difficulties in getting a recommendation letter, but Bruce tells him he will be able to get one of his lawyer students to write one up for Ching. Moments later, his students come to meet him, and one of them conveys his idea of introducing Kung Fu to his fellow Marines. Soon after, an opposing group confronts and challenges them to a duel, saying that their Chinese Kung Fu is fake. Bruce gladly obliges and whoops them. Their master then comes and challenges Bruce to a one-on-one. Their master submits in humility and acknowledges his opponent by giving a thumbs up. The next day, Ip Man takes the letter given by Bruce to the school and meets with the principal. However, she informs him he still needs a recommendation letter from the Chinese Benevolent Association for his son to be accepted. Alternatively, if he can donate $10,000 to the school, they will be able to appoint his son without a recommendation letter. When leaving the premise, he notices a bunch of students harassing a Chinese girl. He follows them and sees her trying to defend herself, which results in one of them accidentally cutting their face with a pair of scissors. Ip Man intervenes to defend her. Later, he joins Yona on a bus ride to escort her home safely. Meanwhile, Becky goes home crying to her mother and lies saying Yona had attacked her. She convinces her husband, who is an officer of the Immigration and Naturalization Service, to come home and deal with the Chinese people. Elsewhere, Yona arrives home with Ip Man, where her father is upset that she got into another fight in school. She explains her hair was cut and a group of people beat her up only because they were jealous of her being made head cheerleader. Ip Man interrupts, saying she was bullied and had every right to defend herself. Wan reiterates to Ip Man, explaining that some of the Americans love to harass the Chinese people. Before he leaves, Mr. Wan accuses Ip Man of using his daughter to get a letter and challenges him to a duel. Looks like destroying the tabletop wasn't enough, so they destroy some expensive-looking furniture and artifacts. Their match is interrupted by an earthquake, and when Juan informs him that their brawl will be decided at an upcoming Mid-Autumn festival, Ip Man opposes and respectfully leaves, saying he only brought Yona back for her safety and not to use her to get the letter. Elsewhere, Staff Sergeant Hartman of the USA Marines and a student of Lee tries to convince his superior to incorporate the Chinese martial arts, Wing Chun, into their hand-to-hand combat training. Geddes opposes in a very vulgar manner, saying their current karate program is superior. Nonetheless, he gives Hartman the chance to prove himself by having him fight the Marines' karate instructor. Hartman is easily beaten, which seemingly proves Geddes' previous point. However, Hartman later manages to convince the unit's commanding officer of the potential benefits in incorporating Kung Fu within their Marine program. He is tasked with filming the Mid-Autumn Festival for research to help further his proposal. Geddes comes into the meeting furious by his superior's decision and tells his instructor to go to the festival and challenge the Grand Masters. It's a full moon, and the festival is well on the way. However, Juan is still caught up in the office writing the letter for Ip Man. Just as he finishes, Becky's father comes in and takes him into custody to question him about illegal Chinese immigrants in Chinatown. Back at the festival, the instructor from the Marine base interrupts their celebration and challenges all the masters to a fight. He even gives equal rights and equal lefts to a female master.
Lady, I'll show you no mercy.
Just before he gives the final blow, Master Ip stops him. They engage in a fight where Ip Man defeats him. As they celebrate, a man comes with news informing them that Master Juan has been taken by immigration. They rush to the office to see Juan, but Billy intercepts and warns them not to go to the Chinese Benevolent tonight because the officers are going to raid and arrest everyone there. Meanwhile, Geddes visits the Marine hospital after catching wind of his instructor's defeat. He decides to take matters into his hands and head to the CBA. As he arrives, Master Law receives a phone call warning them all to leave as the CBA will be raided. Geddes effortlessly defeats all the masters and forces the whereabouts of Juan from one of the masters. Upon arriving at the office, he threatens the officer into releasing Juan to Marine custody. Yona begs on her knees for them to leave her father alone because all of this is her fault. But her father furiously tells her to get up and to never kneel before them. Meanwhile, due to Billy's tip-off, the members of the CBA escape with the help of Ip Man and others, whilst Lee provides refuge for them, finally earning their respect. Elsewhere at the base, Juan engages in a one-on-one duel with Geddes, who wants to prove that Chinese Kung Fu is inferior and has no place in the USA Marines. At first, Juan has the upper hand, but Geddes' resilience, stamina, and brute strength prove too much for Juan. Lee receives a call informing him of Juan's severe defeat and being hospitalized as a result. When Ip Man sees Juan in bad shape, he calls and reveals to Bob that he has cancer. Bob angrily snaps at Ching, who has been avoiding his father. Ip Man admits his fault and apologizes to his son and promises to teach him Kung Fu when he returns. Master Ip asks Hartman to take him to the camp where he and Geddes engage in a long and brutal fight with Ip Man, coming out as the victor. At the CBA, Juan finally presents Master Ip with the long-awaited referral letter, but he turns it down after realizing that the grass isn't really greener on the other side. After returning back home, he teaches Ching martial arts as promised and asks his son to film as he demonstrates Wing Chun on a wooden dummy. The movie ends with Bruce Lee paying his final respects to his master, who lost his battle with cancer at the age of 79.